Hello and welcome to your Sacred Starlight Astrology Forecast for the month of August 2022. My name is Rebekah and I'm excited to talk about all of this. It's a very turbulent month, and I feel like I'm even launching forward into so much new terrain, and I want to open this forecast with a prayer because that's kind of how I like to roll. But I also just want to offer up that if prayer is not your thing, I see you and I honor that too. But for those of us that are into that, this just I really do believe in the great mystery, by whatever name you would like to call it. And I find that I do a lot better when I consciously endeavor to connect with that. Okay. Dear universe, force of love, force of infinite love and mercy and goodness and growth and possibility, great mystery, divine mother, divine father, great spirit, higher self, all that is. I ask you to be present with me and everyone listening for this forecast. Cloak this forecast in grace and help us to remember all of the divine possibilities and the openness in every single moment, and that help is always available to us. And that the force of love is always available to us as it resides within us and everywhere around us. Ask that all beings be blessed, all beings receive grace, joy, vital energy to move us all forward on our path for our highest fulfillment and the highest good of all beings everywhere. So be it, and so it is. Amen. Okay, so I'm recording this on the last day of July because I've been really busy and I'm still settling in LA. So right now, July 31st, which is very relevant, the end of July has had so much popping. We have one of these huge transits that's kind of happening, dovetailing over the end of July, and so July 31st / August 1st, and then just surrounding days, time still relevant. We have Jupiter stationing retrograde in Aries, and we are coming off of a triple, or in the midst of a triple conjunction between Mars, Uranus, and the North Node in the sign of Taurus. So what does all of that mean? So Jupiter is the planet of grace and blessings and expansion, and it amplifies everything. And by the way, this is an Aries rising chart. So actually you can see, as I'm recording right now in Los Angeles, AS, the ascendant right now is Scorpio, but just so that we can easily visually see the planets moving, I've set it here to an Aries rising chart. So you don't need to worry about the rising sign or the house placements here. But basically, here's Jupiter at 8 degrees and 42 minutes today. It has already stationed retrograde on the 28th of July, and it's still stationed. So when a planet stations, it's not moving, and it takes a few minutes or a few days to change direction. Jupiter retrograde isn't negative, and it's not really anything like a Mercury retrograde. These outer planets that move more slowly, like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, like they're retrograde almost half the year. So it's not like a Mercury retrograde, but what it is just a longer, maybe more subtle process of integration. So Jupiter, the houses that Jupiter rules in your chart, like for me, there's two, the Pisces part of your chart and the Sagittarius part of your chart, whichever areas those two signs rule in your natal chart. you may just be in for a period of integration, and then Jupiter will go direct, I think at the end of November. I actually forgot to write that down. But when that happens, you may see more growth, or whatever we're kind of working on behind the scenes in those areas of our lives right now begin to move forward. And so we're very much feeling this station still in the beginning of August, even though it technically happened on the 28th. So yeah, and also maybe even the Aries part of your chart, because that's where Jupiter is stationing as well. So it's the Aries part of your chart, the Pisces part of your chart, and the Sagittarius part of your chart. Those themes are kind of like, all right, we've like gotten this far, and here's all the stuff we've been doing. Here's where we've been, you know, expanding, experiencing a lot of growth, maybe a lot of like, a lot of terrain has been covered, and now we're gonna like get all that sorted so that we can move even further later on down the road. So this big other transit that everybody's talking about it, every astrologer is making like special little videos just to cover just this transit, is this conjunction, which is like perfecting. I mean, Uranus is already conjoined the North Node, but you see these things right here. So Mars, planet of action, life force energy, war, severance. Mars is trying to go forward, and it will just slice whatever is in the way out of the way. Mars is conjoining the planet Uranus, which is a little tougher to see here because it's in such a light color. Uranus is very much a lightning bolt, revolutionary, futuristic, destabilizer energy. So it tries to like zap you out of old paradigms, and it wants freedom. And it wants to move forward as well. So it definitely shakes up the status quo, those two planets coming together. On the North Node, which is another point of sort of destiny. Now that's not a word that I love, but the North Node is showing us where we are going and need to go, a place where we need to be focused on. So the currents of the cosmos are steering us toward where the North Node is. So the North Node, and this is all happening at 18 degrees of Taurus. So this is very combustible, very volatile, and very explosive. But what I will say also is, and it's all this is happening square Saturn. So that's also quite intense, which means, so to break it down, because there's so many things happening, they're kind of all bleeding together. Mars, Uranus, and the North Node want us to move forward very powerfully, potentially quite unexpectedly. So Uranus, you get like it rules surprises. It's very unpredictable, so we can expect the unexpected. And this is in your own life something, or also in the collective, I would imagine there's going to be some sort of pop. And I don't know what it's going to be. There's a lot of other astrologers that will be discussing, that focus more on mundane astrology, which is the events that are happening in the world and in the collective. Highly recommend the Astrology podcast for more in-depth conversations on those types of things. But just looking at your own life, look at the Taurus part of your chart for where some sort of pop or revolution, busting free wants to happen. And this is not graceful. So, and there will be pushback, because what's happening here is all of this, but it is very important. So it's not negative. It may be quite uncomfortable. It's brand new territory. It's a liberation sort of energy. So it's like things have been possibly building through frustration to like a peak for some time. And this is like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's a necessary, it's very, like seismic is another word that I would use too, because it's happening in the sign of Taurus, which is Earth. And so it's very deep, and it's very important, like something that has not been able to move for a very long time finally snaps or pops, is liberated by this huge fiery burst of electricity, of energy. And sometimes it takes that amount of frustration to become motivated enough to boom, like move that energy. If it's something that's particularly oppressive, or something that's particularly stodgy, dense, or stuck, it's going to take you getting, really motivated to just boom, like bust through that thing. And it's something that could very much be not just metaphorical in like a thought form. I mean, this really depends on where it's happening in your chart, but Taurus rules the earth and it's very physical. So there may be emotions that, or energy that translates into the material world in this, that's something really big. It's like a catalyst and it just boom, boom. And it is explosive and it is quite, like fire and earth are definitely two of the elements that we would maybe see like some more literal manifestations around this. But what do I want to say here? Yeah, basically something wants to pop. So, which I've already just said. So the other thing is that there will be some pushback. This configuration is squaring Saturn and Aquarius. Saturn is very powerful in Aquarius. Mars is very not powerful in Taurus. Mars is very frustrated in Taurus. I covered this in the last forecast, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but it bears repeating. Mars is very directed energy, and Taurus is the opposite of like, let's do everything quick. Taurus wants to slow down. Taurus rules beauty and abundance and earth and agriculture and flowers and sensuality and luxury and comfort. Resources is a huge word for Taurus. So this is a shakeup just generally. And for me, in my personal chart, it's actually in my money house. So it might not be this direct for everybody, but Mars is not comfortable there because in order to like really grow stable like foundations financially, to grow a garden, it takes time and tending. And Mars doesn't like to have to spend that much time. It just wants to fume through things. So it's frustrated. It's an energy of frustration and possibly sudden snapping kind of action that's unpredictable. And it might be like brewing within you, or it might be something in your surroundings or something that you encounter outside of you that catalyzes this type of change. But it's a very karmic, and that's another word that I don't tend to use as much, but I would say it's the North Node is there. We are supposed to go toward whatever is shifting, and we have to trust. With this square to Saturn, there will be pushback with the structures of the pre-existing structures in the world, the pre-existing systems and rules that we have set up or that we're having to exist within. Maybe at odds with will be at odds with where this energy is trying to bust out of those. So there is friction between this massive pop of energy in the Taurus part of your chart, and then having to kind of navigate how that's going to work with the Saturn in the Aquarius part of your chart. So yeah, definitely some push and pull between wanting to bust free and move into new territory in some area, or having to, or being forced to, possibly by external circumstances, and then figuring out how that is, there could be a reality check around, this doesn't fit into this system anymore. How am I going to work this out? And it's a real challenge. But know that we are being pushed out of our comfort zone, and it is going to be worked out. It's going to be a process. And so there's a lot of these types of transits throughout this whole month, but this is the biggest, loudest one. July 31st to August 1st, this triple conjunction of Mars, Uranus, the North Node here in Taurus, square Saturn. A lot of squares and oppositions this whole month, but this is the loudest one. And we are, it's a divine process that is pushing us outside of comfort zones and growing us. So it's very, very dynamic. But all of this energy that's challenged this month is also on the fixed axis, which is there's 4 elements in astrology: earth, air, fire, and water. And there's a fixed earth sign, a fixed fire sign, fixed water sign and a fixed air sign. And those signs are generally not as flexible and don't like to move or change as much. So there's a lot of tension on this fixed axis this month, ways that we're maybe have our heels have been really dug in the past, or the systems and circumstances in which we found ourselves living for a very long time have been, we haven't been able to break free of those or shift and change them. There hasn't been a lot of flexibility, and there's enough pressure now that something pops. So, and then there's a longer arc through this month of August with other sort of transits that are happening that kind of, it's almost, this isn't really the right analogy, but I think you'll get what I mean. If you're baking a pie and you're rolling out the dough, you don't just roll it out once and then it's rolled. Like, you have to go back and forth, right? So there's a longer process, but this July 31st, August 1st, triple conjunction of Mars-Uranus, the North Node in Taurus, square Saturn, is what really catapults us into change. So try to honor that. And as obsessed as I am with astrology, and I'm quite obsessed, I find this is the weather. And I didn't even open this forecast with saying my things. Don't allow anything I say in this forecast to limit you in any way. And I hope that that opening prayer kind of echoed this sentiment. We are ripe with possibility. And even though I'm seeing so many edges, sharp edges through this whole month, and even through the end of July, I'm already experiencing so much dynamic movement that's uncomfortable but positive in my own life. And so this is what that is. Like, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to be okay. And we are all able to resource ourselves with support, like seek support this month. However, this would be my recommendation. For me, I'll be leaning on friendship and prayer. And then other practices, like, you know, you might be someone that likes to work out or do a pottery class or whatever it is. But yeah, just be engaging in and with supportive things in your life that can kind of soften some of the harshness and help us move through it. Because it's like a little meat grindery, but we're going to come out the end of the month, hopefully a juicy burger. But we will not be in the same form as we were in at the beginning of the month. Okay. So this is this triple conjunction. Okay. Yeah. And lastly, I will just say, as I like to say in every forecast, do not give your power away to any forecast ever, 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 ever. These things do have a tendency to get stuck in the back of our minds. And this is the weather, not the outcome. And it's energy that we can work with. So the question to always ask ourselves is, what would we like to work with? Or how would we like to work with it? What would we like to see happen? So for me, I'm looking at this triple conjunction, this kind of seismic shift, or, you know, lightning bolt. If you guys do tarot, you'll know this is very Tower card. It's some kind of foundation is being challenged, but something new is coming from it. So I'm like, how do I want to reinvent my finances and my resources? This is just for me, because I know it's in the second house of my chart personally. And where am I going in the future? What is the future of my finances and my resources? And how am I going to work that out with my hopes and dreams and, you know, the larger societal structures, my friendships, my relationships, things like that. So this is always asking what else is possible. And I can thank Leah Garza for that question. I love that question. Crystals of Altamira on Instagram. She's always saying, ask what else is possible, what else is possible. And that's what this conjunction is doing. It's challenging the status quo and the old processes and the old systems. And it could be messy, but it's saying this doesn't fucking work. So what is going to work? Maybe we don't even have that answer yet, but we know that we're just pushing out into new territory where there's no pre-existing template, and we have to create that. So it's a really good time dream. And luckily, this type of configuration, even though Mars is very frustrated here, it's still a lot of power, and we will have a lot of motivation. Okay, it's still a lot of power, but we will have a lot of motivation to move forward. There is a lot of ambition. This is not like oh, I don't have the energy for this. Like, there could be frustration, but it's like the vibe and the feelings are very much like, okay, let's fucking go. Like, that's how I see it. Okay. So August 1st, that's all going down. And let's ground ourselves in Leo season, because we are in Leo season. And these are the keywords for Leo season. So actually, it's really cool. Leo, when we say that there's a planetary, or that there's a season, it's because the sun is moving into that zodiacal sign. But Leo rules the sun, or rather the sun rules the sign of Leo. So this is extra powerful. So we, even when the sun was in, like, for example, Capricorn, it's still Capricorn season, but like Capricorn is not ruled by the sun. So the sun is at maximum power and strength here in Leo season. It's very external. It's very outward. It's very charged with life force energy and vitality. It's receiving a sign-based trine from Jupiter in Aries, which is fiery and motivated. Even though Jupiter is turning retrograde at this beginning of the month, it's still Jupiter. It's still supporting everything. So here we are, Leo season. It's a diurnal kind of outward, it's yang energy, right? If you want to think of it that way, very external. It shines, it does, it takes action. It's not exactly the most receptive energy, but that's okay. There's a season for everything. So I'm going to read these. I'm just going to read them. Leo keys, and you can choose the ones that you like the best. So positive Leo energy, Leo expressed in the light, the love, exuberance, courage. Loyal, abundance, self-expression, creativity, playfulness, charm, passion, demonstrative, insofar as affection goes, romance, lover, fun, inspiration, dramatic, performance, entertainer, entertainment, drama, theatrical, vitality, energetic, cheer, optimism, strength, open-hearted. Leo does rule the heart. Warmth, trust, joy, bright, shining, fierce, confidence, self-esteem, outgoing, dynamic, enthusiasm, generating. So there's enough life force energy there to generate. We aren't exhausted. Generosity. Leo is one of the most generous signs of the zodiac, even though it has a reputation for being self-absorbed, very, very generous, always wanting to share all of the excess of energy and light and enthusiasm and joy that it has. Leadership, over the top, which is not always bad. Go big or go home. Visibility, spotlight, like being seen, rock star, nobility, regal, honor and honors, royalty, extravagance, exhibitionism, extrovert, strong-willed, ambition, encouraging, cheerleader, vanity, prominent hair. That's kind of a literal thing, but like, check it, the Leos in your life, just like you'll see what I mean. Fiery, bold, bravery, and honesty. So Leo energy in the shadow can be more self-absorbed, self-aggrandizing, show off, conceited, attention-seeking, over the top in a bad way, drama, loud, proud, competitive, a braggart, pompous, opinionated, loudmouth, arrogant, interfering, stubborn, snobby, jealous, demanding, too much hype, vain, in a bad way, because vanity, I think I put in the first one, and that's not always bad. Flashy and approval seeking. So these are just, ways that energy that we can see, or that this is the current that we're swimming in. So we can use this however we choose. People with prominent Leo placements, I have a Leo moon. I can see a lot of this in myself. And I can see both the light and the shadow in myself as well. But now looking at it and bringing conscious awareness to it, I have a little bit more empowerment to lean into the positive words and lean out of the, check the negative, possible negative manifestations of Leo energy. So even though we haven't gotten to like all of the many aspects we have this month, this is so important. Most of August is Leo season, and this is some of the most powerful energy that we have to work with. Anytime we're in Leo season, we're going to have Mercury moving in through Leo and Venus moving through Leo, like either a little before or a little after the sun does. So we have multiple planets moving through Leo in any given Leo season. So it's a lot of this energy is available to us. And these are the questions that I like to ask. I don't want to tell people what to do. So I know sometimes I have a tendency to. But here are some questions that we can ask ourselves during Leo season if we'd like to. What lights me up? What am I proud of? Am I letting my true self be seen? And am I shining my light? What could I create if I called up the confidence to go for it? How might my creativity be a blessing to others? What would I express if I had the courage? How might my self-expression be a blessing to others? What am I sharing with the world? What parts of me would shine if I praised and encouraged them generously? Who or what in my life would shine if I praised and encouraged it or them generously? Where can I practice generosity? Where can I invoke courage? What does honor feel like in my body? And one last one's coming through that's not on this list. Where can I open my heart? Or how can I open my heart? Okay. So those are our questions that we can ask ourselves during Leo season. And as I record this forecast, the sun is in Leo. Hang on a second. The sun is here at 8 degrees Leo. Mercury is here at 24 degrees Leo. Mercury will leave Leo soon, but then we'll have Venus coming in a little bit later in the month. So lots of energy in Leo currently. So another thing that I've got to say about Leo season is it's not the easiest Leo season. And last year was the same. Next year will be a little different and a little bit better, I think. But it's a very mixed bag. Same thing as I said in the last month's July forecast. Every planet that moves through the sign of Leo is getting a lot of support and love from Jupiter, the planet of grace, blessings, and expansion. So Leo is like, let's go. I'm going to create some stuff. I'm going to express myself. I'm charged up. I'm lit up. I'm passionate. Like I'm ready. And Jupiter is literally like, it's like a basketball assist or something. It's like you're getting thrown the ball to make the slam dunk. So Jupiter is sending support, and it's really like fanning the flames. There's also an insane amount of reality checks strewn throughout the rest of the zodiac that every planet that moves through Leo has to come up against some obstacles, some uncomfortable obstacles. So we have planets in Leo currently have to square Mars, which is getting in a fight with Mars, basically, and maybe not even a super, like squares are stuff that happens in the periphery. You can't necessarily see it that clearly. It may be something, some sort of, challenge that's arising within you, but it's not always like crystal clear. It's just something that needs to be worked out, something at odds. So planets moving through Leo got to square Mars, which can often sting. They have to square Uranus, which can, you know, destabilize things, lead some sort of to some unpredictable stuff happening that busts us out of our comfort zone. And you're like rug yanked out from underneath your feet kind of energy. So you're like, oh shit, like now I have to pivot and do this now. But it's okay because you're strong, because everything is really strong in Leo and being supported by Jupiter. So there's enough strength and vital energy available to navigate all of this, like no problem this month, but it is turbulent. And then also squaring the North Node. So where we are having to move toward, it's not that necessarily easy to see how to get there, but we're going nonetheless. Like here we are, here we go. And then facing an opposition with Saturn in Aquarius. So these are the systems structure, and oppositions often are quite clear. It's right across from you. It's your opponent. So it could be a person, it could be an institution, it could be any sort of like system in the collective. But pre-existing systems, structures, and foundations that you're like, I'm trying to do this. And it's like you're bumping into a wall. So it's frustrating. However, you will still proceed. We all still will proceed. We're going to get there. We're going to move through this terrain. It just may be a little messy, but we got it. And so this is the journey of all planets moving through Leo this month. And pardon me, there are quite a few. So every time anytime a planet moves through any fixed sign this month, which will mainly be the moon, it's going to have everything I just said. So once we have a moon in Scorpio, a moon in Aquarius, a moon in Taurus, or a moon in Leo, all the same kind of bumps and turbulence or like obstacles, but like we will be resourced a lot of the time to deal with them or to like pass the test. Anybody with planets at around, you know, between 15 and 25 degrees of the fixed signs, any planets that you have in your natal chart, actually any planets that you have in your natal chart in the fixed signs, I don't even care what degree it's at, but particularly between 15 and 25 degrees are really going to be feeling this triple conjunction here, July 31st, August 1st, and then pretty much like, yeah, there's just, it's extra, you're feeling it extra, you're really being worked on. The currents, the cosmic weather is really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's precision, like you're being activated by degrees. So it's very deep work. You'll be feeling it. So just trust that it's all part of a higher divine order. No harsh transit is, to me, it's all divine. This is all something that's been set in motion. The planets, I don't think they are causing bad things to happen down here. What we do see is a correlation between the weather and the things that happen here. But we have to trust that almost like a divine mandala, that things are moving the way they're supposed to be moving. And so we just do the best we can and trust that we're being directed, that it's growing us, that there's some alchemy occurring. Also, just to be extra positive right now, we do have, like even today, as I am recording this on July 31st, we have the sun trining Jupiter, which is stationing retrograde. That's one of the most powerful, a trine is one of the most positive aspects that you can have. Jupiter is a very positive planet, so is the sun. So we are like maximally well resourced to, with vital energy, with hope, with optimism, even if we're cranky or whatever, like we're like, we know we can do it. We know we can get through. So there's a lot of cosmic assistance and divine resources, or even maybe even material resources available to us to navigate and get through the growth that we are going through this month. And even through the beginning of August, we're really still going to be feeling this trine. So it may perfect on July 31st, but the first week of August, it's still very strong between the sun and Jupiter. And honestly, like I am of the school that any planet in Leo, I don't care what degree it's at, is getting a sign-based trine from Jupiter. It's going to be receiving that support. So even though Mercury, looking at Mercury right now, at 24 degrees Leo, which is just faced a smackdown or a reality check from Saturn. Still getting support from Jupiter over here in my books. So that's where we are on August 1st. August 1st, we're still just here at August 1st. Huge movement this month, possibly starting with some sort of a pop today. Okay. Venus here also, just to point out, is building up to a sextile, which is another supportive aspect with this triple conjunction of planets in Taurus. If you look at the chart right now, you see there's a huge splay of planets in the sky. They're like all over the place. There's stuff happening all over the place. So when you see that, you know that it's a mixed bag. There are challenges and there are blessings, both available. So yeah, not just the Sun trine Jupiter, but Venus is sextiling these planets. So like extra support popping in there. Actually, that transit perfects August 2nd. So, and we're starting off the month here too with the moon in Virgo. Hang on, why am I even? Here we go, August 1st. Moon in Virgo. Yeah, so starting off the month with the moon in Virgo, which is a waxing crescent moon. We've just come off the new moon in Leo at the end of July. So new moons, and especially the waxing crescent phase, can be very productive. It's like you're starting to see the new cycle has just begun and you're starting to see some light. You're like planting your seeds, you're taking your actions, you're making moves. And a moon in Virgo is highly practical and detail oriented. It's really good at taking care of business, and it's making a trine to all of these planets here in Taurus. So, and it's largely out of harm's way. So it's a very productive start to the month. And here on August 2nd, we have Venus. You can see here, she's moving so fast right now. She's at 19 degrees at like 1:42 p.m. on August 2nd, but like the same day, earlier in the day, she perfected a sextile with Uranus, the North Node, and she's making a sextile to Mars at 19 degrees. So that's really nice. There's actually flow happening. It kind of depends on the Cancer part of your chart and the Taurus part of your chart. For me, this is home and roots, finances, things like that. It could be different topics or themes for you, but look for cooperation in between the Taurus and Cancer houses in your chart on August 2nd. And then we have also a moon moving into Libra this day, which is pretty nice. It plays nicely with all the Leo planets. It plays nicely with Saturn. It's opposing Jupiter, but that Jupiter is a benefic. So it's nice. There's flow here as well. And the very next day, we have, so August 3rd at, I gotta figure out a way to do this better. So it's basically August 4th in Eastern time zones, but it's August 3rd at 11:58 p.m. This is just gonna have to be good enough here. Mercury moves into Virgo. So let's pretend that's at 0 degrees, 0 arc minutes of Virgo. And so even though it's not gonna be Virgo season until I think like the 22nd of the month, Mercury moving into Virgo is kind of like an honorary Virgo season. So while we still have all this Leo stuff going, it's still very much Leo season. The sign of Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. This is actually one of the best transits of the month. It's very short, but Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of trade and commerce, of information exchange, of travel, of technology. And in the sign of Virgo, it's very different than in the sign of Gemini, which is the other sign it rules. It's good with materializing things. So it's not just ideas and words. It's like taking ideas and words and putting them into material reality. It's very crafty. It's very, it's very mature. It's good in the world. It's very practical and very functional. And it's kind of neat too, Mercury being the planet of betwixt and between. Mercury is like the old school non-binary. It's the planet in the original 7 traditional or classical planets that never was given like it wasn't assigned masculine or feminine. It was like it can go either way. And both Virgo and Gemini, the signs of Mercury's rulership, are mutable signs, which is a signs of flexibility. So it's like very able to pivot and just, you know, that's Mercury's superpower. So here on August 4th at August 3rd, at 11:58 p.m. Pacific, and then at 2:58 a.m. on August 4th for Eastern time, we have Mercury moving into Virgo, and it's amazing. We also have the moon in Scorpio this day, which is like, I'll get to that in a minute. So let's actually, I was gonna originally pull up the Virgo keys later once we get to Virgo season, but I'm like, it's gonna be really relevant now. So Mercury is considered exalted also, even though it's a sign of its rulership, it's one of its most powerful signs. It's exalted in the sign of Virgo. So anything mercurial that you would like to do, so contracts, communications, commerce, tech, travel, moving around, right? Because Mercury connects things. It connects the dots. It's exchanging information. And so that's why I think it rules travel, is it's connecting you from one place to another place. And it's moving, it's still moving pretty fast at the beginning of the month. It's fixing to go retrograde September 9th. So now is an amazing time for, like, even though it's a challenging month for contracts and things like that, but if you have a good Mercury election, like if Mercury is ruling your ascendant here and the moon is well placed, you can still do pretty great stuff. And just in general, mercurial endeavors with Mercury in Virgo is going to be really, really great, even though there will still be turbulence through the month. So take advantage of this. Let's look at, should we look at this now? Yeah, let's look at it. So this kind of energy is, I want to say it's actually even, yeah, the sun's not in Virgo until the 22nd, but like this energy is available to us now in spades. It's really amazing. So Mercury in Virgo is very grounded in the physical world. It's great with mundane tasks and just getting shit done that needs to get done. It's great with process. It's very productive. It's a time for harvesting, problem solving, writing, editing, publishing, communications, analyzing anything, being in the details of things, getting in new routines, self-discipline, learning new skills, you know, being precise around something or meticulous, getting into service, being service-oriented, altruism, practicality, pragmatism, resourcefulness, even green thumb. These are kind of like Virgo things, but I want to say specifically, so for Mercury, yeah, work ethic, functionality, productivity, health and healing regimens, things like that, are real efficiency, behind the scenes work. Yeah, routines, regimens, things like that are very, very powerful at this time. And we will get into maybe the rest of these keys afterward. But just know that this is something that we can be working with Mercury and Virgo. And Mercury is in Virgo until August 25th, or really 24th is the last full day that Mercury is there. So it's like about 21 days, it's 3 weeks, it's really fast. So take advantage. Okay. And August 4th, the moon also moves into Scorpio at 4:47 a.m. Pacific. And as I was saying earlier, any planet that is moving through any fixed sign is coming up against a lot of challenges. Now, there's not, the moon here is not without help. It's going to you know, have help from Venus, the other benefic, who's also in the water sign of Cancer. So she's going to be able to support the moon. Moon's very sensitive, still growing, still, it's in like this sort of like first waxing square. This might be where we are like assessing, okay, here are the seeds we've planted. Like, how do we sort of recalibrate or like pivot? And based on new information we have, what are the next steps? We're kind of editing and pruning and pivoting. But yeah, the planet, any planet moving through any fixed sign is got to square or oppose Saturn, square or oppose the other malefic, Mars, and then square or oppose Uranus in the North Node. So these are not easy energies to work with. And the moon is in her fall in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the underworld. It shows us the full spectrum of human experience, and it shows us the dark. And we do move through the dark. It's very Phoenix energy. It's where we ultimately find our deepest and greatest power, but it's not easy. And so this moon in Scorpio, again, a mixed bag, but I would say a little bit more challenging than not. Lean on your resources, lean on art, lean on relationships and friendships. If you can, lean on love. It's very much a self-care if possible, but she is also going over the South Node. So anytime, and this is like these are the eclipse points that we had in May. Anytime any planet goes over the South Node, it can be a release or some sort of purging. So just go easy. Life may have some edges and not feel easy at this time, but we can still breathe and allow the process and just be kind to ourselves throughout whatever comes up during this couple of days, because it is the 4th and the 5th. And, you know, the 6th, we actually have the moon moving. Oops, I should have this on days. So, August 6th, the moon enters Sagittarius at 9:39 a.m. Pacific, and this is really a lot of relief. So moon over here, Sag, is going to make a trine to all these Leo planets. It's going to make a trine to Jupiter in Aries, which is fire. So this is very fiery, and it's very buoyant, and it's very bright, and it's a lot lighter. I don't want to sugarcoat things, because there are other transits happening. Like the very next day, we have a tough transit, and even though it doesn't perfect until August 7th, we're feeling it on August 6th too. So still a mixed bag, but August 6th, things lighten up considerably, and take advantage of any sort of optimism that you feel. Moon in Sag wants to explore and wants to have a good time, and there's an openness there, which is really nice, because things can feel the harsh edges that we are navigating this whole month can feel confining. And so yeah, this moon in Sag has a real open sort of energy, and it's wonderful for creativity. Like super, super, super amazing for creativity. The very next day, August 7th, which we're still feeling there on August 6th. So this is this weekend, right? Sunday, August 7th, Mars squares Saturn at 12:25 p.m. Pacific at 22 Taurus Aquarius. So this is what I mean when we discussed this triple conjunction of Mars-Uranus, the North Node, that happened July 31st, August 1st, and how it was square Saturn. It was square Saturn then, like last week. But this is where we have Mars like perfecting that square. So it becomes one of the planets in this triple conjunction, Mars, the god of war, and is probably pretty pissed off, is trying to charge forward and is coming up against some sort of a wall with Saturn. And that, so it's not like what was initiated and started at the end of July, beginning of August, is continuing, and and it will continue all month. But this is a pretty big deal here, August 7th. These two planets really squaring off. So again, it's really easy to have conflict at this time. And sometimes conflict is necessary, but breathing and invoking your best qualities are probably also always a good idea. Just saying. Like, you might need to have conflict with somebody, and it might be important for a challenge to for a showdown or something to happen or something to pop. But you know, calling in wisdom and support is good. You don't necessarily need to. Could be a temptation to be quite reckless here. I'm sorry, Uranus is still here. Like, this is still a triple conjunction. We have it's Mars square Saturn, but Mars is so close to the North Node in Uranus, its energy is not functioning singularly. Its energy is blended with the lightning bolt revolutionary, like, let's get the fuck out of here and get into the future. It's a very impatient sort of energy. And so it's continued themes from that first of the month, but and the doggies are coming home right now if you hear anybody. It's continued themes. So whatever popped around July 31st going to August 1st may have like a second thing come up that's significant to that same process or experience around August 7th. Venus also trines Neptune the same day. Such a mixed bag. So this is amazing. Like, this is very amazing for meditation or creativity or spirituality or dreaming. So Venus at 25 Neptune trine, Venus at 25 Cancer trine Neptune at 25 Pisces. Neptune is the higher realm. So Neptune, of course, like anything else, has positive energy manifestations or expressions of its energy, and also negative ones. So, but with the trine is a very harmonious aspect, and Venus is a benefic planet, a happy planet, a good planet. She's pretty nice in the sign of Cancer, which is very, so this is deep feelings. It could be very emotional. A nice way to cope with whatever the sort of challenges that are happening in the physical world or in your, like, quote unquote reality or real life. There's love and hope and creativity and spirituality and a higher perspective and a higher dream available in spades on this day to help us. There's a higher vision that we can kind of rise above the noise, whether that's, you know, in singing a song or, you know, in a meditation, or like this is a Sunday, maybe you're like on a long walk on the beach or something with someone that you care about, or even solo. But this is where we can look at the higher vision and try to trust. So, and also maybe a glass of wine if you're someone that has a healthy relationship with alcohol or substances. You might enjoy something like that. Being near a body of water would be really, really powerful medicine on this day in particular, and maybe this weekend, because even Sunday the 6th, Saturday, August 6th, Venus is still going to be trining Neptune. It's just it perfects on the Sunday. So yeah. Water is medicine, art is medicine, spirit is medicine on this day. Gosh, this month is just like one harsh transit after another. August 8th, Venus. So even though she's coming off her trine with Neptune in Pisces over here, she is opposing Pluto at 26 degrees of Cancer Capricorn the very next day, which is a Monday. So the start off of our week might be, this is a fast transit, but it's another sort of power struggle kind of vibe. And actually that's something I maybe should have said about this Mars-Saturn, which is still in effect here too from the day before. Power struggles are really, really easy to experience under these types of transits. So, and the moon enters Capricorn at 11:39 a.m. Pacific on Monday, August 8th. So this is not necessarily bad either. The moon is in detriment in Capricorn because Capricorn is a sign about work. It's Earth, it's cardinal. It wants to like take very practical measured actions to climb to the top. It has perseverance, it has long-term vision. It's one of Capricorn's greatest gifts, is that it's a sign, it's very Saturnian, it's ruled by Saturn. It's a sign that knows what needs to happen long term, what is like the highest and best for like what's the long game. And it doesn't, it's not deterred from that. It's all about this delayed gratification. And so this is just the moon entering this sign, but it's fairly well, so the moon is more sensitive and not necessarily to do with work. The moon is more about our emotions, our intuition, our instincts, our body, our physical body. But this moon in Capricorn is fairly well aspected. So it's making a nice aspect to Mars, this Mars-Uranus-North Node configuration here in Taurus. So all this Earth here is like, we have shit to get done and we're gonna do it. You may be highly motivated on this Monday to like, you know, you might be quite serious on this Monday to be getting shit done. And you may have your own agenda about how you want to get it done. But there could be some sort of power struggle that arises, and maybe it's to do with a work situation, but it will possibly present itself in the Capricorn Cancer axis of your chart. So if you know your chart, you know which houses those rule. For me, it's work and home. So there could just be some sort of energy that we're trying to find a balance with there. And again, it's more serious. We're in a Saturn-ruled sign here for the next bunch of days with the moon. But this Venus-Pluto opposition is very quick. So something pops up and there are solutions available. But this especially the beginning of this week is very much grounded in the physical world and about work and getting things done. Tuesday, August 9th, we have the sun trining Chiron. This is not necessarily, and do I have an exact, I don't have an exact time for when that happens. And that's kind of in play as well, as like any sort of wounding that's coming up at this time, or sensitive or tender things. There's healing available. There's repair available. So I wanted to point that out too. I'm still learning about Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid with an elliptical orbit that was discovered in 1977. It is traveling through Aries right now, and it has been conjoining my ascendant and sun over the last couple of years. So often Chiron can bring up sort of, it's the wounded healer archetype. It can bring up a wound of not belonging, of being exiled, or like there's a self-esteem issue or some sort of wound coming up that we become empowered through and learn to heal and are able to help others heal that. So this is a very quick transit here with the sun trining this, but also just wanting to point out that because there's so much turbulence this month, for this day in particular, around this day, there's healing and integration available. So whatever, if there's triggers and power struggles, old wounds coming up, we actually have some cosmic assistance here to help us integrate those lessons and become empowered through those. Okay. August 10th, we have the moon moving into Aquarius at 11:40 a.m. Pacific. Again, a Saturn-ruled sign, and this is where we begin our full moon for the month. Now, the moon doesn't become full until the next day, but it's on the build-up. It's in the sign of Aquarius, and we are definitely feeling it. Most of us, and at least I can speak for myself, feel the full moon more on the build-up than the come down. And so this full moon is a little tough. It's any full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon. So we have the moon over here in Aquarius, the sun over here in Leo. There's a polarization and opposition. Something is at odds. So, and we're feeling it. The moon is very receptive. I mean, she receives the sun's light and shines it back. So of course, whatever the moon is, whatever's happening with the moon is stuff that we generally feel really intensely down here on Earth, whether we realize it or not. And so we're feeling this opposition. We're feeling our feelings more, whatever those feelings may be. And because this is on a fixed axis and there are so many malefic planets involved, just the growth, it's growing pains. It's quite serious because we're in a Saturn ruled sign. So yeah, this is a tough full moon. On August 11th, where we have this moon becoming full at 19 degrees and 21 arc minutes of Leo and Aquarius, this is very tightly conjunct Saturn. So let me just move a couple hours ahead so we can see basically 19, we're like at about this time. So yeah, the full moon at 6:36 p.m. Pacific becomes exact. Here's the moon, here's Saturn. They're within 3 degrees of each other. So it can feel very heavy. It can feel very serious. We may be feeling some sort of limitations in our lives or within us, or something coming up that feels confining, restricting, frustrated, difficult, challenging. And it may appear as though there is not a fast solution. Also, again, we have this, it's not just Saturn, but this moon is still square to Uranus, very tightly square Uranus, and tightly square the North Node, and then still like pretty square to Mars. So some other stuff going on. There could be some more potential for conflict being worked out, bumps, turbulence, curveballs. Uranus is always bringing on the unexpected, but it wants to bust us out of old ways of being. Saturn is kind of like, yo, here's how it needs to be. Like, here's the deal with Saturn Uranus. So Saturn is actually our friend. It's not just like an ass kicker. It's not a planet that's about fun. It wants you to work. It wants you to put in the work and the time and the process and all of the steps and the effort in order to support future you. It wants you to build foundations that are strong and that are right and that work. And those are not done overnight. It takes time. So that's the challenge with Saturn, is that those foundations, when they are built with integrity, are really supportive of us. Like, they really do support us and our well-being, and we need that to an extent in our lives. Absolutely. And because you don't get the payoff right away, it can be a lot of trust that you have to put in. It's like, okay, I'm putting all this time in and I'm not seeing any results. I'm not seeing any rewards. Is this going anywhere? And you won't see those rewards until down the line. You won't be able to reap the fruits of your actions for some time with Saturn. And so that's really challenging. With Uranus, though, sometimes there are systems and structures, by the way, that in our lives that are oppressive and that are not for our highest good. And we don't want to stay in those forever. And so there's a lot of discernment that we need to know whether it's a system or structure that we need to trust and put in the process and the time and effort to build, or maybe we're restructuring something, or whether it's something that has got to go, like it is just keeping us trapped. And so this bunch of planets down here in Taurus, in the Taurus part of your chart, Mars and Uranus, are like they're challenging the systems and structures in your life. And they're like, this sucks. Like, we got to bust out of this. But yet there's still this like duty of like, I don't know how to yet, or maybe, so there is like a push pull with that, and we are having to just navigate that and figure it out. But the cool thing about it is that this too shall pass. Like, we will actually go through this process and we will come out the other side of it, and we will be different. We will be alchemized. So trust your own discernment. And yeah, this is a powerful, full moons illuminate things. We can see things more clearly. We can feel things in a more heightened way. And so you may be able to see what changes need to be made at this time. And sometimes with Saturn, sometimes the right thing to do is not the easy thing to do either, especially if you know it's not a quick fix. So that's something to keep in mind. Saturn is stronger in this configuration with the full moon than any of these other planets here too. Mars can certainly disturb the balance and shake things up here. It is frustrating, but it's probably not going to win. So we have Mars basically and Uranus in a showdown, in a fight with Saturn. And the moon is just in there, like, you know, shining a big old light on it. Saturn, the institutions, the systems, the structures. Saturn is very strong in Aquarius, and Mars is very weak and frustrated and pissed off in Taurus. Now, that doesn't mean that Mars and Uranus together don't kick up some serious fucking dust, because they do. And it's all divine, and it's all like the stuff that's being brought up needs to be brought up, and it needs to be assessed. And Saturn needs to consider this information, and it needs to be integrated, and maybe like there's some pivoting, and we're like, okay, like here's how we're going to move forward based on everything we're feeling and that's coming up now. And maybe there's new ways that we can integrate things or work things out within the old system, or we're building a new system, and here's what we got to do. But this isn't a great day to pick a fight. Even if you're feeling sensitive, or to challenge authority. If you're going to do so, you may not get your way, or you may do so with major discernment and wisdom applied in process, and maybe you're actually going through the system or something like that. And so this all really depends on where the Leo Aquarius axis is in your chart, but this is where this is showing up. And then of course, whatever house Taurus rules in your chart is where there's major movement happening this month too. So this is a full moon that we can work with, but it's quite serious, and we're taking stock of the systems and structures in our lives in the Aquarius house of our chart. Some of the ways that we've been trying to move forward in the Taurus part of our chart may be feeling frustrated, but just trust that process. And take some time. Yeah, this is also something I heard another astrologer, Zamboni Funk, say, like in one of his dailies last month. He's like, Saturn also is kind of like, if you're going to simplify it, it's like no, right? The word no. So if there's stuff going on in your life where you're being asked to do a lot of stuff, with the moon coming into Saturn, you may just be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go to the party. I'm not going out. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to lay low, take care of me, and just like chill out. You don't have to do everything all the time. This is where you may be putting some sort of boundary, Saturn, in place. Instead of saying yes to some sort of pressure or circumstance that's popping up in your life at this time, you may just be exercising your right to say no, or implementing some boundaries yourself at or around this time. And it should probably feel pretty intense. There could be a lot of expressive energy. A full moon on August 11th, we also have Venus ingressing into Leo at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. So Venus, planet of passion, planet of creativity and love and relationships, and everything nice in the sign of passion and self-expression and creativity, Leo. So this really amps up creative energy. And so, yeah, Venus will still have to go through a challenging lay of the land through her journey through Leo, but she's got a lot of support from Jupiter and Aries. So it's like, this is where creative energy and our ability to be inspired, dream things up, and then like actually output that is amplified even further. And we still actually have Mercury here in Virgo, which is helping us to take the practical steps that we need to take this month, look at all the details, and like move all of this kind of creative energy into the physical world and make it material. So Venus, and even though we have that full moon is challenging, Venus entering the sign of Leo really helps us out with our creative energy and our confidence to be seen and show up in the world and shine that light And then remember, Mercury is still in Virgo at this time. So we want to be like, you know, enjoying, like, communications really do have a lot of support, practical communications at this time. But yeah, okay. So that's our full moon, August 12th. The moon enters Pisces at 11:44 a.m. Pacific, and that's a softening as well. So that's kind of like a, you know, a few days. The moon is not really connected to very much. You know, she's sextiling these planets in Taurus. She's sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. But this is, you know, Pluto, or the moon in Pisces, is soft. So that's kind of nice. It's maybe some sort of relief or integration. Maybe you go out for a drink or you go for a walk by the ocean. It's Friday, so this is nice. So like after maybe what would have been a tough week this past week, this weekend with the moon in Pisces, Friday, August 12th, there's a little bit of softening and relief available. And then August 13th, Saturday, kind of same deal, no other major aspects. Now on the 14th, we have the sun opposing Saturn exactly. It's a very fast transit. It's happening at 10:11 a.m. Pacific at 21 degrees and 54 arc minutes of Leo and Aquarius. Again, it's just a power struggle. Or an imbalance, or, you know, the sun in Leo is very much about identity, self, and self-expression. And it's like, here I am. And Saturn's like, no. So there just could be a little bit of that energy on the 14th, but it passes so quickly. But this is any planet moving through Leo. And this is where I actually didn't even get, like, when does the sun square on the 10th? Yeah, I didn't even put that. I missed a bunch of stuff, like the sun square Uranus on August 10th. You know, anyway, it's just every day there's pretty much some sort of like chafy thing going on. So, you know, these are the major things. So the 14th, we have that sun opposing Saturn. The moon also enters Aries on the 14th. Moon in Aries can be very highly charged up. It's the moon, the sensitive moon, embodied moon in the sign of the warrior. So it's actually very sensitive and very hot-headed, but it's also very passionate and able to like charge forward. And normally moon in Aries is something that I don't love. But it really just depends on how it's configured. So like when I started learning astrology, there were a lot of planets and signs that were like chafing Aries, and now it's really just Pluto. So the moon's journey through Aries is suddenly like so much nicer this past year. It's got Jupiter there, which is a planet that brings good stuff, grace and blessings. And any planet moving through Aries is trining the Leo planets, which is like a high five. It's like friendship energy. It's like, let's help each other. Let's boost each other up and support each other. So moon in Aries is all sorts of, I got shit to do. I'm so excited. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like, well, it's not all over the place, actually. It's very directed. It's usually like got one thing that it's trying to really do. And it's got all this help from Jupiter. And it's boosting up these Leo planets, Venus. And so here on August 14th, with the moon in Aries, also making a trine to Venus, making a trine to the sun, is a very creative, driven day with lots of vitality, lots of vital energy. Okay, August 16th, we have Mercury trine Uranus at 18 degrees and 53 minutes of Virgo Taurus, and that's happening at 10:34 a.m. Pacific. We also have the moon entering Taurus at 7:22 p.m. Pacific. So this is also mixed. August 16th. So Mercury trine Uranus could be some sort of like really inspiring, like sudden great idea that you have. Uranus also rules technology. It's very electric. So, and Mercury rules communications, gadgets, electronics, travel. So there could be some sort of like inspiring idea that kind of pops in a good way on this day. One of my favorite words around Uranus is innovation, because it sees the future, how things want to be done, and it's got the guts to innovate and do something new. It's very avant-garde. So yeah, we may be able to have like an idea or an inspiration, have the guts to try it out, and then the coordination to implement it in the physical world on this day, August 16th, which is a Tuesday. And we also have the moon entering Taurus, like I said, a little later in the day. And that is challenging. The moon loves to be in Taurus normally. It's the place of her exaltation. She does so great here. She's comfortable. Taurus is all about like abundance and resources and the earth and embodiment and comfort and like sensuality and food and like, growing things like a garden. It's wonderful, but it's just because there's so many challenging planets on this fixed axis here that any planet moving through a fixed sign, the moon included, is going to come up against some turbulence and some challenges. So, it could be a more sensitive journey through Taurus than usual. It's a bit challenging. So this moon will come over the North Node, Uranus and Mars, square Saturn, and square all of the planets in Leo. But it will trine Mercury. So mixed, right? Progress is happening. There's some challenges, but we're figuring it out, and we're figuring out how to like make it real in the material world and make it work for us in quote unquote reality. Okay. August 18th, we have Venus trining Jupiter at 8 degrees and 2 minutes of Leo Aries at 1:01 a.m. Pacific. So we're also feeling this the day before on the 17th. This is, again, when I was saying before about Venus being in Leo and this amping up creative energy, there's a real peak of that on this day in particular, even though we get it as a general period for much longer. This is a fantastic aspect for creativity, romance, passion, sex, play, like all of those sort of juicy, like Leo is it's a sign about fun too, right? So this could be like a really, really fun day. August 19th, the moon enters Gemini at 5:06 a.m. Pacific. And this is relief as well, because this is a lighter, brighter sign. It's more fun. It's not so dense, stodgy, having to, figure out all the problems in the physical world and blah, 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 right? Gemini energy is very mental, and it's very zippy, and it's all over the place. It's like curious about this, that, and the other thing. And it's very social. It's very animated. What's nice about this as well is that this moon in Gemini is largely out of harm's way. There are no challenging planets that it's configured to, so it's not being picked on, and it's also making like high fives and supportive kind of cooperative connective aspects to the sun and Venus in creative and fiery Leo, as well as Jupiter in Aries, which is like bolstering up all this kind of vital energy. And it will square Mercury. So like, I suppose at some point you may like be overdoing it with how excited you are, and like maybe, but it's fine. Like that's not really anything that it's so fast. So this is a nice day to be like doing stuff and being creative and making moves and, exploring, connecting with people and being creative. And it's a great day for communications as well. Just maybe if you want to take a little extra care to be grounded, if you are not somebody that tends to be grounded. What is also nice here is that the moon will trine Saturn. So that does lend some support for grounding, even though it's not perfect. It's nice. there's a nice connection there. A little sobriety, I suppose, just enough. Okay. This is also very interesting, actually. Let's talk about Gemini. Look where Mars is right now. So Mars is at 29 degrees of Taurus, the anaretic degree of Taurus. This is potentially like, you know, the last degree of any sign is called the anaretic degree, and it can be seen as slightly less stable. And this is the planet Mars that's in detriment or fall in the sign of Taurus. It's not happy, it's frustrated, it's pissed off, it's like, woo, you know. And when we've had harsh aspects from Mars to other, you know, planets and intense stuff going on all month, we're moving, the very next day, Mars will move into Gemini and the moon will be there. So it's like, and then Mars is going to be in Gemini for like 7 months because it's going to go retrograde there around Halloween. So we're actually just about on the precipice of a big tone change here. So we're also about to move into Leo season, and we're about to have Mars in Gemini. And so this is like Mercury, or not Leo season. We're about to move into Virgo season. We're about to have Mars move into Gemini, and these are both Mercury ruled signs. And it's just very significant. So August 19th here, last day of Mars in Taurus. Thank the Lord. Can't wait for that to end. Here we have August 20th. Mars enters, so the moon is entering, moon is in Gemini, and then Mars is ingressing at 12:56 a.m. Pacific time, August 20th. The moon is already there. So Gemini energy has a lot to do with multiplicity. It's very, it's an air sign, so it's very light. And it can be very ungrounded. It's very intellectual. It's all about the mind, ideas, thinking, writing, communications. And it's mutable. So it's all over the place. Like not that, which is a superpower, actually, that can be really, really positive. And it can also have, you know, its shadow manifestations. It's a sign ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication. And again, this non-binary concept of Mercury being able to be a little bit this, a little bit that. That's how it's able to communicate from one person to another, from one place to another, from one thing to another. It rules trade. It's the go-between. It's the back and forth, and it straddles worlds. And that's why also it's a very non-binary energy. As I said before, traditionally not assigned a masculine or feminine identity, but able to go either way, depending on so many other factors. And so we have Mars here in the sign of Gemini, ruled by Mercury, and it will be here for a long ass time. So the Gemini house in your chart is going to be really highlighted for the whole rest of this year. And I'm like, when I know Mars goes direct from its retrograde on January 12th. And I didn't even look to see like when it finally leaves. Did I write it down? March. Okay, I did write it down. Thank you, me. So here's what I wrote. I'm going to slow down for a minute. Pay attention to your Gemini house and the story that's activated or unfolding here now. Mars will be here for 7 months and 5 days. So the story that begins to unfold now will be reviewed between October 30th and January 12th. And then even after January 12th, there will still be progress between January 12th and March 25th in this area of your life. So just pay attention, because when Mars enters a sign, it's kind of loud. Like you usually feel it right away. Within the first few days, there's a tone change in your life. So what part of your life does the Gemini house rule? Steps taken now will be reorganized from Halloween through January 12th when Mars goes direct, and further progress will be made in your Gemini house in mid-January through March 25th of 2023. So yeah, just something to note. So I know August 20th is kind of like a significant day because there's a really big shift happening. We are through, and also it's nice because Mars is no longer on the fixed axis as of now, even though he will be going retrograde. He is out, he's off this like chafing with Saturn. So thank God for that. And any planets moving through fixed signs from this point forward will still have to face off with Saturn, but they won't have to with Mars. So it kind of spreads out the challenges into different areas, but it like lightens the load in some areas, if that makes any sense. It lightens the load for the fixed axis people. And what's really interesting as well about March, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's so huge, I have to mention it. March 2023, so we're going to have Mars finally leaving Gemini and going into the sign of Cancer, but we have two huge other planetary ingresses. We have Pluto moving into Aquarius for the first time. The last time Pluto changed signs was 2008. So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. Pluto is finally leaving Capricorn and going into Aquarius in March of 2023. I didn't write down the dates because this is something that we'll have to cover in later forecasts. And Saturn also leaves Aquarius after having been there for the last bunch of years. So Saturn moves into Pisces in March of 2023. So that's like three huge planets, all quote unquote malefics. Like they're not easy energies to work with, even though ultimately we are always served by growth as there's growing pains. They're all changing signs. And these are planets that don't move very often. Mars usually moves a lot more often, but will have been in Gemini for 7 months. Usually spends like 2 months in one place. So look out for March 2023. It's really, 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 really big. Some big stuff's happening there. And we're getting, so now August 20th of 2022, we're sort of on the last chapter, or we're beginning one of the final chapters of this year with Mars and Gemini before we kind of go into this new phase in March of 2023. So Mars and Gemini can bring some challenges to the Gemini house in your chart, but nothing you can't work through. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone and help you to make some progress. It's going to bring some heat to that area of your chart. So which house does Gemini rule? Look for a story beginning to unfold now that will have potentially extra challenges through from Halloween through January 12th, where you're going to be reviewing and then moving forward in a new way from mid-January on. But that story begins to unfold right now, the Gemini house of your chart. It's August 21st, the day before the sun ingresses into Virgo. We have Mercury opposing Neptune at 24 degrees and 43 minutes of Virgo Pisces at 12:25 a.m. Pacific. So August 20th, 21st, we also might be feeling a little nebulous, or like there could be some confusion in communications, but it's a very fast transit. So nothing to really worry about, just something to note, especially because it's so fast. Maybe even noting that exact time, Mercury opposing Neptune at 12:25 a.m. Pacific. So you're really feeling this more toward the evening of August 20th. Okay, August 21st, the moon enters her domicile of Cancer, where, the moon is losing light at this point, like she's kind of winding down toward the end of her cycle, but she loves to be in the sign of Cancer. So this is at 5:29 p.m. on August 21st when she enters, and it's mixed. It's sensitive, but this is a great time to kind of do some self-care, I guess, as we're kind of coming into the end of starting to come into a dark moon phase. Moon in Cancer is very intelligent, like very emotionally intelligent, and very somatically intelligent, like body intelligence. So as the moon wanes in light, we do tend to lose some energy. Things just kind of maybe feel a little bit more inward. This may be like a good time to retreat if possible, and dream, and just take care of yourself over this. And this is a Sunday evening that's beginning. On August 22nd, which is a Monday, this is kind of nice. So at 8:16 p.m., so it's not until the end of the day, we have the sun moving into Virgo, and this is when Virgo season officially begins. So let's actually look again at these Virgo keys. And I am going to, Mercury is still in Virgo at this point in time. Let me scooch this forward just one more hour. There we go. So here's the sun in Virgo. We still have Mercury here for just a couple more days, which is really extra Virgo superpowers. Because once Mercury leaves Virgo, it's, you know, the sun's still there, but it really changes things up. So, and Mercury being extra powerful in Virgo, when it does leave, is going to lose a little bit of power, but that's okay. We'll get there. So Virgo, August 22nd, 8:16 p.m., the sun ingressing into the sign of Virgo. Here are our Virgo keys. We've already had access to these for much of the month with Mercury there, but these are really, you may feel like, oh, and like it's really landing, even more so now with the sun here. So grounded in the physical world, focus on the mundane, which the mundane is not bad, by the way. This is like the richness of our daily existence. Getting things done, focus on process, production, harvesting, problem solving, writing, editing, publishing, communications, idealism, analytical. You know, we may be extra analytical or be able to analyze things a little bit more sharply, detail oriented. Self-discipline is a Virgo thing. Skills, like learning skills, learning how to do shit, you know, like little detailed and things. Virgo is very observant, so our observation may be heightened at this time. Precision, meticulousness, being caring and helpful. Virgo is the sign of service. It's very service oriented, very altruistic, and wants to serve others. And it's like so polar opposite to Leo. Leo is all about me. Virgo is like, how do I serve? And often that's with humility and behind the scenes. So let's see. Yeah, very practical, pragmatic, very resourceful. Virgo, often I know a lot of Virgos have green thumbs. They're just good with plants and gardens and things like that. Virgo is an earth sign. It's a mutable earth sign. As I said before, earth signs are very much about the material world, very well able to function in the material world. But mutable earth is able to be extra flexible in the material world. And so that's one of its superpowers, is it doesn't get bogged down and entrenched in like a certain system or structure. It's mercurial. It's actually able to move about, which is how maybe it's able to get so much done. So that's a Mercury superpower there as well. Sensibility, functionality, strong work ethic. Humility is a big thing, right? Because it's very service oriented, and modesty, purity, cleanliness. This is like, these are big Virgo things. Materialization, right? So taking ideas and inspirations and making them real. Productivity, health and healing, hygiene and well-being, fitness and beauty. These are all really big Virgo things. So it depends on where Virgo is in your chart, but for me, it's sixth house, which has overlap with these themes. I've seen a lot of like Virgos in my life. Usually all have like really epic skincare routines, or people with strong Virgo placements. They all have gym memberships. Like they're very, it's very Virgoan to be focused on health, healing. Some even pre-pandemic, like these are the people that were like using hand sanitizer like before COVID, like all the time, always washing their hands, you know, things like that. But I'm telling you, the skincare thing just cracks me up because I just like see it so much. And fitness, yeah. Daily routines and regimens are really big under Virgo energy. This is where you get into the details and you get behind the scenes. This isn't like the big show that you put on. This is how you prepare for the show. And again, this is also earth sign stuff. So Virgo, similar to Capricorn and Taurus, it takes a minute to materialize something. It takes a regimen, a routine to lose weight, or to, you know, start feeling better, to build muscle. You don't work out once and it's done. Like, you have to keep doing it, right? If you want to clear your skin up, it's going to be a process. And that's why process is this huge word here. Virgo rules the intestines in terms of the body, and the intestines process things, assimilate the nutrients, and filter out the waste. So Virgo is amazing for looking at your routine and your regiment in your day, and how all the details of how you want to organize that, so that every day, if you show up doing the same thing, you're going to have a process and a progress over time that materializes in the physical world. Systems, order, organization, cleanliness, adaptability, diligence, efficiency, low key, behind the scenes, reserved, discerning. Independence also is an interesting Virgo word that comes up as well, like self-sufficiency. Sovereignty is really big. And this is interesting. So Virgo is the virgin, but virgin didn't originally mean somebody who didn't have sex or had never been sexually touched. This was an autonomous woman. I wish I had, did I write this down? I didn't. Anyway, there are some really great resources on this. I recommend looking up Clark Strand, who has a real relationship with the Blessed Mother, Mother Mary, by any name you want to call her, but he has done a lot of research on historical Mary as the Virgin, but like what she was before the church got a hold of her, the ancient goddesses. And I swear he has something really excellent on the word virgin as it relates to a sovereign, independent woman, and not someone who is sexually untouched. So this relates to Virgo as an archetype as well. Also, just noticing that Virgos are well-read, or tend to be well-read. That's just like a little side note here, but it's a great time to consume information and to learn, right? Because Virgo wants to learn skills and to take in information so that it can then integrate that information and do something with it. So yeah, Virgo keys. The shadow of Virgo is perfectionism. So it's never good enough. Like, I'm so focused on the details, and I'm so precise and meticulous that I'm torturing myself. It's never going to be good enough. Fussy, picky, nitpicking, overly critical of self and others, especially self. Virgos can be very self-critical, and everybody can be self-critical, but if you have strong Virgo placements, that can really be a thing. Anxious. I mean, all humans have anxiety, but if you're always worried that you're never good enough, it's likely that, you could have more anxiety. So anxiety would be one sort of shadow manifestation of some of these Virgo traits. Imposter syndrome, right? Like never feeling like a fraud, like you're never good enough. There can be a restlessness, cold and detached if you're really into the whole self-sufficiency, sovereignty thing, and so good at doing everything that you don't need help, or you don't trust other people, right? Maybe you're like, no one's gonna do it right, so I just have to do it myself, and that can sometimes lead to a detachment. Virgo shadow can also be high maintenance, very serious, prudish even, germaphobe, know-it-all, or lost in the details. So these are just some things you can take in about Virgo season. And these are keywords that you can work with however you choose to. And if you just bring awareness to the fact that this energy is a lot more present at this time with planets moving through Virgo, we can, we're empowered to work this energy in the positive rather than some of these shadow manifestations. So here are some questions we can ask ourselves for Virgo season. And I would say even you can ask these anytime you want if you're someone with a lot of Virgo placements. But even with Mercury having moved into Virgo, which I think was August 4th or 3rd or something. It's like my one page that wouldn't print. It's on my phone. Anyway, Virgo energy present pretty much the whole month. So here are the questions. Where is there magic in the mundane? What grounds me and connects me to the world? Am I dreaming or am I doing? What daily routine or regimen will support my goals? What daily routine or regimen will support my healing, health, well-being, and even beauty? What are 3 details in my life that, when tended to with diligence and love, will yield a bountiful harvest? And so, like, when I wrote this question, I'm like, is that clear? Or yield a good result, you could even say, not just harvest, but result. So 3 things that when you tend to with diligence and love, and they may be physical things or they may not be physical things, but they will yield a bountiful harvest or a good result. The other questions: how am I helping and serving others? Where can I invoke self-discipline? Where in my life can I create order? Where in my life can I allow myself to trust the process? And what does sovereignty feel like in my body? So these are great questions for Virgo energy, Virgo season, which begins officially on August 22nd. Okay. Nothing to note really on the 20th until the 24th. So August 24th, here's where we have Uranus stationing retrograde. Whenever a planet stations, it stops moving in order to change directions. And it's like, if you're running at top speed, you do have to slow down a little bit and then stop basically to go the other direction. So the idea is when a planet stations, it's a lot louder. It's not moving at all, and it's bearing down with a lot of gravity and a lot of weight on one particular degree of the zodiac. It's just much louder. So Uranus, I'm a traditional astrologer. I work with modern planets, which Uranus is a modern planet, but I don't see it as the ruler of Aquarius. But just know that in the Taurus part of your chart, again, on this day, there's an energy there. Where there's like a possible change in direction, or like change in momentum is more the word that I'm looking for. And it is a change in direction. But it's, Uranus moves very slow. So when it goes backwards, it's going to be backwards for a long time, like 3 or 4 months, maybe longer. I didn't look up the exact dates. Retrograde for a while. And it's only going to move a few degrees in that time span. But yeah, when it's stationing, its energies are amplified. And so Uranus has that Tower card from the tarot sort of energy, that lightning bolt energy, that unexpected energy. And it is stationing square Saturn. So it's just been square Saturn this whole time. It's square to Venus loosely. It's just, again, this volatility that's here in the Taurus part of your chart, and these edges that we're smoothing down or navigating, these conflicts, these oppositions, these squares, we're still processing them. We're still figuring them out. And this is the last day of Mercury in Virgo too. So take advantage of, that. It's great for communications and stuff. But yeah, so Uranus stations retrograde. When that happens, sometimes unexpected things pop up in the collective, especially. Venus trines Chiron at 15 Leo Aries. So that is also still like a nice energy for creativity and healing and self-expression on this day. And the moon enters Leo at 6:09 a.m. on this day, August 24th. And so this is the balsamic moon, the dark moon. The sun is in Virgo, so you can see the moon is sort of moving this way. She will catch up to the sun in a few days, where there will be a Virgo new moon. But right now, this is waning energy. So this is a release. Energy is the light is barely visible in the sky. And we may just be in sort of more retreat mode, self-care mode. Now, Leo is very external, and it still wants to express. We still have Venus there. There's, the moon is going to trine Jupiter on the, there could be like a lot of cool stuff popping still, but the energy is a bit lower, as this is the end of a cycle. And this moon in Leo actually is a lot nicer than the previous moons in Leo because Mars is out of the way in terms of doesn't have to have a fight with Mars. It's actually playing nicely with Mars. So it does have a lot of support. It is going to oppose Saturn. That's pretty much what's going to happen during its journey. And that will be more on the 25th. But yeah. Moon in Leo is still quite creative, but like quieter. August 25th, Mercury ingresses into Libra. So Mercury, and we're in Virgo season right now. So Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. I think I mentioned that when we did our keywords. But Mercury is now in the sign of Libra. And while Mercury in Libra is not like it's not a bad placement, it is a loss in dignity because Mercury has gone from a place in Virgo where it was at maximum power. It was super comfortable there. It's in a place that's like itself. It's in a place where it's very well resourced to do mercurial things. Everything is kind of flowing for it. So now it's moving into a new place where it doesn't have all of the same. It's in the sign of Libra, which is about relationship and harmony and beauty and art and balance. And that's not bad. But it's just not it's not the same energy. So it is a loss in dignity. Also, Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde on September 9th. So it's starting to really slow down. So this is just something to note that this is a tone change here. And some of the more mercurial stuff that we had popping is better done, before August 25th. So let me just look this up. Be a little bit patient. Yeah, August 4th, basically from August 4th until August 24th, we have some of the strongest sort of mercurial energy. Okay. August 26th, we have the Sun square Mars. And this is kind of the day before the moon becomes new. Actually, August 26th is the new moon date if you're on the East Coast. It'll be in the evening, but the new moon in Virgo is August 27th at 1:17 a.m. Pacific at 4 degrees and 4 arc minutes of Virgo. And so that puts it at 10:17 p.m. on August 26th. Let's just go to that chart, or like close to it. Great. So August 26th, we have Venus squaring Uranus. And we're in sort of a new moon energy. So this could be some sort of like unexpected thing happening in love or around whatever houses in your chart Venus rules. There could be some sort of like a surprise thing that happens, like the curveball you have to navigate. Sun square Mars is challenging. It's, again, these are Venus square Uranus is a fast transit. It's like 1 day. 1 or 2 days, you might be feeling it. Sun square Mars, same thing. Really fast transit. And that's happening at around 2 degrees Virgo. But that could be some sort of a battle of the ego there. Like Sun is ego or self, and Mars is conflict or war. So there's just some sort of a conflict energy there to be worked out. It's quick. And it could be around communications because, or mercurial endeavors, because the Sun is in a Mercury ruled sign of Virgo and Mars is in the Mercury ruled sign of Gemini. And we also have the moon entering Virgo here for the Virgo new moon and at 5:25 p.m. Pacific on August 26th. So let's go to the next day for this new moon. This Virgo new moon is, I wish I could be like, okay, great, we're off the fixed axis, like no more chafing. But unfortunately, we have this new moon is square Mars. Look, so you can see here's the sun at 4 degrees Virgo and the moon at 4 degrees Virgo. And here's Mars at 4 degrees Virgo. And actually it's really tight freaking square, like really tight. It's within 3 arc minutes. It's like pretty much as tight as it gets of a square. So these are mutable energies. Virgo and Gemini, they're like a lot more flexible. It's like if you have to pivot, something will give a lot easier. But this could definitely be something where you're just kind of watching your words a little bit, or any sort of mercurial endeavors have a little bit more, are a little bit more prone to conflict at this time. So it's not without support. Like it doesn't mean that everything's terrible, but it's not really heavily aspected by any other planets. And it's interesting, the ruler of this lunation is Mercury in Libra, which has lost dignity because it's in Libra, but it's also trining Mars. So this is the support that's available, is rather than just being like, this is how I want to do it and that's how you want to do it, and we're not seeing eye to eye. If we look at the ruler of this lunation in Libra, which is about balance and harmony and relationship, essentially there could be some sort of compromise that could help us navigate any sort of challenges that arise with this new moon. But a new moon in Virgo is generally really nice. So new moons, of course, if you're following this, you probably know they're planting seeds. Virgo is an earth sign. It loves to plant seeds. It's got a green thumb. It loves to grow things and water them and nurture them into materialization through these amazing and supportive and healthy daily routines and regimens. So this is like great. Look at the Virgo house in your chart and plant some seeds there, or notice that new seeds are being planted. But the more you can work with intention, the better. This is a great time. I notice no matter what chart or what house in your chart Virgo rules, people do tend to be more health and health and wellness focused around Virgo season. I know I noticed it. I really feel it. So yeah, it's a good time to like clean shit up, you know, in whatever area of your life needs that. August 28th, we have Venus opposing Saturn. And we've been feeling this for a few days. So this is some sort of like Saturn likes to say no. Venus in Leo is self-expressive, and she really is very creative and very fiery and passionate. And so there could be some of that going on, and then her not getting her needs met. Maybe she's like, I love you, and she's all demonstrative, and Saturn is like not responding, or, you know, there's some sort, whatever houses in your chart, these rules, not always people, right? It's not always like a relationship, but that's just like one way that this energy could play out. You know, if Venus rules your money and, you know, Saturn is in your partner's money, like part of your chart or something, that's like a whole other kind of dynamic, right? There could be but whatever that axis is on your chart, those topics, there's some sort of polarization or opposition there. It's quick, but Venus is wanting something and she's getting a no on this day. So just trust that as part of our process, like, and work with it as best we can, but be validated if things feel a little drier on that day, or not as easy if we're not getting what we want on this day. We're not crazy. We just have to be patient and maybe try something different. And this is at 12:30 p.m. Pacific when that transit peaks at 20 degrees Leo Aquarius, Venus opposing Saturn. August 29th, we have the moon entering Libra, which is at 2:45 a.m. Let's go forward just like one more hour. And this is nice. I mean, it's very communicative, very much about relating. It's making some nice aspects to Venus, nice aspects to Mars. It'll oppose Jupiter, so that's oppositions are generally difficult, but Jupiter is a benefic planet. And it's also going to make a nice aspect to Saturn. It will oppose Neptune, but like by and large, this is a very nice couple of days worth progress and relationships and harmony and stuff can kind of flow. And then August 30th. So Mercury here in Libra is at 3 degrees. It gets within a degree or so of a trine with Mars. And they travel together like that, moving forward 1 degree apart for like a couple of days, you know. But Mercury never really catches up to Mars and is never able to really perfect that trine. Oh, look, that's why, because I don't have it set on days. Mercury is never really able to perfect that trine because Mercury at this point is slowing down, and it's going to be stationing retrograde on September 9th. So there's cooperation between the Libra and Gemini parts of your chart. And action and forward movement is like possible, but there's some review in the Libra part of your chart that we're going to be going into in September. So just be aware of that as well. And August 31st, we have the moon entering Scorpio again. So this is where we were in a month with 31 days. So the moon takes about 28 and a half, 29 and a half days to go around. And so in the month of August, we get moon in Scorpio twice. Yay. So it's challenging. She goes over the South Node. She has to oppose Uranus, and she squares Saturn, and she squares Venus. But she doesn't have to oppose Mars anymore, which is like nice. So, you know, this is just a couple of days still where it's we're in shadow work. You know, and that's okay. This is how the month kind of closes out. So we're building. I mean, it's like the moon is going to be sextiling the sun. This is like, it's progress, but, you know, just honoring whenever the moon is in Scorpio, as long as the South Node is there and there's malefics on the fixed axis, it's just a couple days which are more sensitive. So, yeah, we're going to have, if we're looking ahead, that's it for the month of August. We're just looking at ahead now at September with Mercury stationing retrograde on the 9th. So just knowing that that'll be in a little bit longer than a week in your Libra house. And so we're still systems go at this point. If you're here at the end of the month with me, thank you for surviving this long forecast. I don't really know if I'll ever be able to do them fast and short. If you want a fast, short forecast, check out Nina Griffin. She's amazing. But yeah, thank you for being here with me. I hope that August treats you well. I hope it has treated you well. I hope that you are happy with the growth that you've experienced through this month and that you're proud of yourself. And I just want to validate any challenges that you've experienced, because this is one of the harder months. And any astrologer will say this. We've been looking at this all year, that this is one of the harder months of the year. But there has been a lot of support and forward movement, but some big changes this month. And it is a process. So I know that you're doing your best. And I'm proud of you. And you're going to be okay. All right. That's it for the month of August. For anybody that is going through a lot of changes and wants to look more specifically at your natal chart and your own specific transits, because like this is just the general weather for everybody. But there's a lot of validation and insight and you can get from having a natal chart reading and a transit reading, feel free to book. I have stuff available at every price point. So yeah, and I go hard for you. I will give you my all. I will give you a list of stuff and dates, and they're always really on point. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. You can, message me on Instagram, sacred_starlight, or you can email me, Rebekah@sacredstarlight.com. You can book readings at sacredstarlight.com. And yeah, astrology readings help things to make sense. So I hope this forecast helps things to make a little bit more sense for you. And I'm sending all my love.